one of the most important things to public trust is how companies handle incidents that arise in their own history. There are going to be scandals in even the best organization. There are going to be oil spills. There are going to be food poisonings in even the best organizations. The challenge is how to handle those in a way which engenders trust rather than detracts from it. And at least in my experience, corporations consistently get it wrong in how to deal with these crises as they arise. They simply have to know as much as they can about what happened and be absolutely transparent about telling the public what they know. They have to have first concern for the victims. In any of these instances, they've got to focus on the people who are suffering. And that could be their own employees as well as someone who ended up being poisoned or someone who was exposed to an oil spill or whatever. Too often, for example, in this case, the lawyers get involved and start arguing that those fishermen in Alaska really weren't damaged quite that bad. And it seems to me that's the wrong theme to have when you're responding to a crisis. The other concerns are clearly to apologize and apologize frequently. I often say apologize often for the same incident. And finally, to tell the public very clearly what you're putting in place to deal with the causes of the problem. I think the public doesn't expect perfection, but it does expect openness and transparency, concern for the victims, and getting it right, making a fix, solving the problem so that it's less likely in the future. I think we all have our favorite cases of how companies have managed difficult incidents in the past. The most often mentioned, of course, is the Tylenol. And Jim Burke, one of the leading members of the Business Roundtable, was a standard for that. The one I tend to use more frequently is the Odwalla controversy, where there were individuals poisoned by some problems with apple juice produced by the natural juice company Odwalla, located in California. And there was they got news one afternoon of a single poisoning very rapidly became a dozen poisonings and 24 over the next 48 hours. They acted very quickly to pull not just the product that seemed to be the problem, but a whole range of products off the market in order to avoid potential damage. And then every day they held a press conference to reveal absolutely everything they knew as they investigated it over the next 2 weeks. The CEO of the company, because there were two individuals that died and were dying of the poisoned apple juice, he went and sat with the families as they had, sadly, the watch over their family members who were dying. That was controversial at the time. It could have been seen as a very exploitive or cynical kind of behavior. But it was taken as it was, I think, a very genuine concern for the victims of the poisoning. And then over the next 2 months, the company identified exactly what had happened, where the source of the poisoning was, and announced to the public with lots of disclosure and lots of interviews exactly what they were doing to create what they called flash pasteurization to prevent the reoccurrence of this. And Odwalla has been reestablished on the market and is an incredibly popular natural food drink today.